From the director of Exorcist 2 and the creator of Salute Your Shorts, starring Brad Pitt and Donovan Letch, Jill Scholine and Martin Mull, with supporting roles from Roddy McDowall and many more. This slasher film should have been put on the floor and stamped repeatedly until it stopped fucking even moving. I'm John Renton with the retro review of Cutting Class from 1989. Yes, Brad Pitt, before he became famous and decided to do movies that people loved, movies that people hated, and movies that people actually saw. Unlike Cutting Class. Who has seen Cutting Class? I actually forgot this movie even goddamn existed. Never got around to it, but decided for a horror movie couple months, aka September, October, scary September and spooky October, I decided to dive into this and some other stuff from the 80s and early 90s. And yes, the director of Exorcist 2, The Heretic Boogaloo, believe it or not, yes, that same guy. He also wrote Excalibur and The Emerald Forest, proving that he can write a movie and not direct a movie. To be fair, though, The Exorcist 2 was just absolutely ridiculous. And yes, the creator of Salute Your Shorts helped write this. This movie was not good at all. Basically, there are two guys. There's Brian Woods, Donovan Letch Jr., or Donovan Letch, or however the fuck you say it. Leach, Letch, I don't really care. And Dwight, played by Brad Pitt before he became famous, want the affections of Paula, played by Jill Scholine, who was in Babes in Toyland, apparently left acting to become a mother, and has gotten into singing. And based on recent pictures, has not aged a goddamn bit. Good genetics, good stuff there. So that's cool. Whatever. She's having fun. And has raised two beautiful children, I assume. Whatever. Every mother thinks their children are beautiful. Especially, Mama Bates. She thought her child was really beautiful. Norman, I told you to stop bothering the guests. So anyway, yeah, we have one guy that was released from an institution recently, Brian, and we find out a little bit of history about him and Dwight. It turns out Dwight has a bit of an anger management issue as well. And Paula is just a sweet, doe-eyed, innocent girl that is Daddy's little girl, Day, played by, Martin Mull. And yeah, he's a DA that goes on a hunting trip and then ends up incapacitated. And it's very fucking obvious who the killer is. No matter what direction they try to take you, there's really only three people it could be. A creepy janitor, but that seems just a little bit too out there, though it would have been funny. Or you have Brian, or you have Dwight. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's Brian. It's Brian, no matter how hard they try to lead away from it. It's very fucking obvious. And it's marketed as a comedy horror. None of the comedy really works. The movie is tonally inconsistent and a goddamn mess. It's kind of like the Sleepaway Camp sequels. Not number 4. That one tried but was in development hell for a while. I'm talking 2 and 3, where they just didn't seem to understand what the fuck they wanted to do. I did kind of laugh at the synth score that was really, really bad. The fact that there was some paperboy throwing stuff, and man, I remember that game being a lot harder when I was a kid. So the dad basically says 3 things: attack your homework, no boys while I'm gone, and no cutting class. Martin Mull, by the way, great character actor. So yeah, dad goes off hunting. He gets he in a weird bog. I don't know where the hell this bog is supposed to be, why the dry ice machine was out of control. He gets arrowed, and he is just off. Completely, he's done. He's absolutely done, except he's not done. Later, we find out he's alive. Days later, somehow. So, here's Brad Pitt. Everybody's got to start somewhere. Fuck, George Clooney was in Return to Horror High, which is another retro review I should do. So, there's talk of sodium and, chlorine, chlorine basically mixing together, and boom, they explode. And that comes back to play a little bit later. That's according to a science teacher, because they blinded me with science. So, 87 cents a gallon. Man, that Arco Magic was working wonders back in 89. So, Brian and Dwight used to be friends. Brian was put in an institution. He's better now, except he's absolutely not. The DA that put him away was Paula's dad. So it's obvious where they're tipping it here. I mean, and even if they end up going with Dwight, it sort of, I guess, would have made sense. But the fact is, the movie didn't seem to know what it wanted to be because it wasn't funny. It had too many weird characters. Roddy McDowall was a major creep as a principal here. He played it well. But, yeah, I just can't understand why they thought this finished product was a good thing to release. Yeah, the principal invites Paula into his office and is a big old creep about this stuff. Like, just ridiculous. And then, that's to give her new cheerleading uniforms. And then he has a bunch of bus, like literal, like the stone bus that he's making in some kind of oven area that the school happens to have. And then he gets fried. He gets pushed in there, pushed up to 500 degrees. To be fair, it was already at 200 degrees. I think he probably would have been okay, just like dying like that. Because I don't think 500 degrees necessarily would have made him suffer. Maybe Brian didn't really care. Maybe they wanted to rush the film along, except the film grinds to a halt pretty soon after. This acting and writing combo is really bad. Brad Pitt basically says a cliche, I don't get mad, I get even. That's about the highest level of writing that we get here. Yeah, they're making it too obvious it's Brian. And yes, I did recently watch Out of the Dark, where they made it obvious who the killer was. Another film that came out in 1989, but good grief. So they break into the school with the key that Paula has to the school, in the Hall of Records, apparently, that they have. They find out that Brian was a violent schizophrenic, and Brian was in the school and heard all this. So, yeah, we get a basketball game. It's more like Bradsketball. I'm not apologizing because these puns are the only things I have. Guy punches him. He punches the guy back. I miss NBA Jam. That was a fun game. And then basically, double dribble on the NES, where you could actually punch people, and it looked like your arm was like disconnected from your body. That was fun. I liked that game. So, this is bad. This is really, really fucking bad. Like, this is one of the cheapest and dumbest slashers. The music is all right, and like the actors certainly try, but this is pretty terrible. So the dad is pissed at Brad Pitt or Dwight for basically blowing his opportunity at a basketball scholarship that we literally just found out about maybe 5 minutes before before this game. So there's Brenda. Brenda James, who plays Colleen. I do have to say she's very lovely in this. And she has her boyfriend Gary under the stands, likes to look for change and look under girls' skirts. Whatever. But then he's under there, and she gets pulled under there by him. And then the killer just gets him, gets her, and nobody hears this because there's just cheering and everything and all that stuff. It's happening right beside you and you can't see, and okay, that was sort of all right. That kill was fine. And then Brian is suddenly working on Dwight's car because he's back in school. Hey, remember this stuff that we did? And we worked on my dad's car, and I didn't put this one part back, and I didn't say anything, and all this. And yeah, remember that? Remember that stuff? He cut his brakes, so his dad died. And maybe he just did teach him a lesson, or maybe Dwight did, and maybe Brian's covering for him. No, Brian's not covering for him. The janitor character, I mean, he's acting in a totally different movie. He did say, I am the custodian of your fucking destiny. I don't know why that made me laugh. And then one teacher gets killed by getting slammed on a copier, and there's this ring, the school ring, that Dwight had that was that the killer was wearing. So it's Dwight that's wearing it. No, it was a silly image, and whatever. It is what it is. It's fine. It's death by copier was kind of funny, I guess. The acting is terrible. This pacing is terrible. There was suddenly a helicopter and police cars driving through the goddamn woods. Whose woods these are, I have no clue. We find out the dad's alive in this, a bit before this, when they're doing this school exercise and one guy accidentally steps on his seemingly bloated corpse, but no, he's alive. And then he doesn't go with the dogs that, were like part of the police thing. He doesn't go with them. Have the dogs follow you. Have the dogs lead you to the police. Why didn't you just do that, you blithering idiot? So, yeah, they're trying to find Brian. Brian basically ends up, Brian ends up basically totally goddamn snapping. Even though the janitor thinks that, the janitor suspects that Brian's the killer. But no, it's actually Dwight. No, it's Brian. Brian just suddenly takes over the goddamn school because why the hell not? I mean, why not at this point? Why was there... Like, why try to lead us in one direction, anything? Why not? Why try to lead us in a direction when it was so obvious where you guys were going? Because that's not mysterious. That's just frustrating and a waste of time. There was a math teacher that had, kind of, picked on Dwight and also picked on Brian about, this train leaving Chicago for Boston. 50 miles an hour. It takes about, 8 hours. How long would it, or how long would it take? It would take, 50 miles an hour or whatever. It would take a bit. It would take like, a number of hours. The whole point is that now he does a math problem. And you need to choose this door. Which door do you choose? 1 or 2? Which one do you escape? Here, mind you, bear in mind, by the way, that Brian somehow managed to accomplish all this, take over the PA system, play a bunch of synth, weird rock, and then managed to do this, and nobody was aware. Nobody was aware. He somehow managed to do this. And then he ends up axing the math teacher. Then he talks about killing people in the past and the future and stuff like that because his brain is either fried or he's finding a way to teleport. And they just didn't have the budget to show that. Yeah, this is stupid. This is a really stupid movie. And then they end up, basically Dwight ends up rescuing Paula, I almost said Julia. I didn't realize that was Jillia, as it were. They end up getting into the shop class, and we have power tools they're fighting with power tools, and then there's a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey thing, so he's got Brad Pitt's head in a vice like this, and says, if you get with me or whatever, then, I'll let him live or I'll make his death merciful, whatever, it's fine. It's fine, apparently. So then she ends up basically, kind of convincing him just enough that she wants to sleep with him so she can hammer him, and then he falls into this spinning saw that just gets him. And then she manages to rescue Dwight. The janitor is totally okay with this. Janitor's totally fine with this. Yeah, I'll clean up after you get a little lady, no problem. The fuck is this guy seeing at this school? The dad is on the hill. He's about to get back home. So they're driving along and everything. They're going to drive along to the sequel. Jill and Dwight. But then the brakes are out because Brian did work on the brakes and nearly hit the dad, but then he pulled the emergency brake and did that. And then the dad says, I'm going to kill him. Don't worry, we took care of him. Wait a second. Aren't you supposed to be in school? You're not cutting class, are you? Here's the thing. If you're going to try to do comedy and horror together, you need to actually have an aptitude for both. I don't remember Salute Your Shorts that much, but I think was around 10 when that show came out. And yeah, like really? It's back when Nickelodeon shows were king. And there was a lot of weird shit going on behind the scenes. So yeah, the cutting class is really, really stupid. Really stupid because it's just tonally inconsistent and it's not well done at all. It's not even fun. It's just stupid. So agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rickland. I'll see you soon.